So in the last video, we took a look at how you can create FHIR resources in TypeScript. If you haven't checked that out already, we'll leave a link below, just like check that out. Here, what we are going to do is we are going to try and interact with a FHIR endpoint and then see how we can make create resources, update resources, and like retrieve data from a FHIR endpoint using TypeScript. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to install the Axios library. Now I know that there is fetch built into Node, but then the way it behaves is just like weird most of the time. So I'm going to install Axios. This is again like a helper library that helps us make HTTP calls. Now I'm going to import Axios from Axios. Now, once I have this, I am going to need a FHIR base URL. So I actually have the FHIR bootcamp base URL. So this is the URL that all of our students use. So FHIR base URL equals FHIR bootcamp.medblocks.com/FHIR. So just for a sanity check, what I want to do is I'll just retrieve the metadata endpoint of the FHIR server, see if that works. So just do axios.get, then I'm going to do FHIR base URL plus metadata, right? This is going to make a GET request, and I have to await this. Response.data. Let's just console.log this. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of most of this for now. I think let's, I think there's some validation going on here. I think I would just comment this out for the time being. Let's just see if our FHIR endpoint actually works, right? So let's do npx tsx, and again, tsx is a helper function that just lets you run ts files without needing to compile, but you can definitely use the normal tsc command and compile it down to JavaScript first. And I'm just going to write index.ts. There we go. There's some error here. Read from socket. All right. Top level await is currently not supported. Okay. We're doing an await here. Okay, that's actually not exactly supported. So we need to define a function first. Get metadata. And then we say async. Actually, we can define this as a async inline function. So I'm just going to do, there's an arrow function, and I'm just going to do response, and I'm going to say dot data, right? Now I'm going to say get metadata. Now this is going to run this function. Let's see. Perfect. We got our endpoint and we got a full capability statement from our FHIR server. So we know that this is working. It's actually running Happy FHIR version 6.2, and it's the FHIR bootcamp's base URL. Excellent. Now, how do you retrieve data from this, right? Like, so in FHIR, again, the CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete, you just use the HTTP methods, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first try to get all the patients from this server. So let's see what we already have. So let's do const get all patients async function, and then say response is await Axios dot get, and again you can probably guess where this is going. I think that's just Siri responding to something, but just do /patient. So you have axios.get FHIR base URL plus /patient, and that's about it. This will just make a get call, and then will get us all of the patients on the FHIR server. Let's just console.log this. And this console.log, when we usually do it, it kind of, it doesn't show the deeply nested items. If you really want to see that, we can just do a json.stringify. And I usually like indenting this a little better. So I use this null like comma 2 to indent it. So now let's try to get all patients from our FHIR server. And perfect. So we see a bunch of different patients, and we are actually able to get all of these patients. Now, what do you want to, how do you actually deal with this in your code, right? So we have all of our patients, and we know what this data looks like. In this case, it says Axios response any. Now, the thing is, you can actually type your Axios response and tell the server what this is going to expect. So for example, you can say axios.get, and then you can actually provide it a function here, and then you can use the FHIR TS types library, in this case R4, and you can just say it's actually going to be this is type of bundle, and then within the bundle all of the entries are of type patient, right? So you can actually do bundle, and then within bundle, again we'll import this from R4, and then within bundle you can actually say patient. Now this is gonna give us a lot more better type safety. So what we can actually do is say response.data, and then it will show you all of the different things here. So if you actually say resource type, it will actually know that it's bundle because we have already typed it. And if we said data.entry, and then let's say we want the 0th entry, and it actually gets us all of this. And in fact, if we check what the, we can get the ID, the link, the request, and the resource. And in this case, it's actually under the resource. So under the resource, if we do a dot again, we actually get birth date, gender, active, address. All of this is, it belongs to the patient. And if you actually check resource type in here, you'll actually get the actual typing of this particular resource. So I think that's super cool. It's a very easy way to work with TypeScript and just like type your resources even as you're making a API call. So just do axios.get and then type it here perfectly, and you will get full type completion. And in this case, let's just console.log this first resource. So actually, let's just call this patient, and then let's just do patient here. And then if you actually hover over this, it'll tell you that it's actually of type. Okay, so that we did the resource type in here. So if we do it here, then it says block scoped variable patient. Okay, it's because of the question mark. Okay, so now the patient is either undefined or it's of type patient, right? So then you can do checks in your code that says like, okay, if not, for example, if not patient, then you return. Let's say you return, right? So if you do something like this, then your code will know that here it can only be of type patient, and then there is no need to check for other uncertainties. So let's just run this code again. And perfect. We actually got our first patient. It's Chris Athens. And yeah, perfect. So this is how you get all patients with type completion, right? Now again, let's go back to our terminal here. And let's see how we can post a patient, like create a patient. In this case, we already have tried to create a patient here in our previous exercise. So let's just continue with that. But instead of just creating it and like console.logging it, what we are going to do is we'll actually create this patient on the FHIR server. So let's say create patient. What we'll do is we'll actually also validate it a little bit before creating it. So there we go. So we have resource type patient, and then in this case we are saying name is Siddharth Ramesh, contact is 1234, whatever. And then the FHIR thing, I think we didn't declare this. I think it's okay not to validate it because the server will validate it for us. So we'll just like get rid of that. Once you have all of this, what we'll do is we'll actually make a post request. We'll do axios.post, and let's say FHIR base URL plus patient, and you just pass in the resource. That's about it. This will actually make a post request for us, and we can actually get the response back. And we can say response, and we can actually also type this. We know that the return type of this is also going to be a patient, and then we can just console.log the response. Sorry, it's the response dot. Okay, this is, I need to await this, and I need to make this an async function. Okay, this is very, type safety is probably the greatest thing after like sliced bread. So if you are not working in a type safe environment, I think you don't know what you're missing out on. So response.data dot, let's just get the ID because the server would have given us a particular ID, right? So let's just say create patient. And in this case, it's going to resolve. Let's see, npx dsx. And boom, we got ourselves an ID. And let's just go over here to, the FHIR bootcamp / patient / this particular ID. Okay, I forgot to add /FHIR / patient. And perfect, we get our patient here on the server as well. Now, of course, instead of listing, we could have done one particular patient. So instead of get all patients, we could have done like get patient, and that would have just been, you know, the slash the particular ID, right? So let's just do plus ID in this case. We could also use string literals here. That would make things a little easier. So in this case, the ID would always be a string, and we're just adding it to that. And in this case, it's actually going to be of type patient, right? And let's see if we can just console.log or like return that. Response.data. Now the cool thing here is that we actually also get type safety on the return. So you know that it's a promise of patient. So we can just do, for example, get patient, and we can pass in this particular ID. And we actually know that this is a, you know, it's a promise of type patient. So we can actually do dot then here, patient, console.log patient, right? Let's try this out. We're just programmatically getting this and perfect. We got our patient. It says Siddharth Ramesh, phone number is this. Perfect, it works. Now, how would you update this patient? Let's say the phone number is not this and you want to update it to, let's say, 99999, something, right? So you can actually just, it's very similar to create patient, but we would just pass in the ID and then make a put request. So let's actually copy this function. And let's just say, update patient, right? And in this case, we'll actually ask for an ID, which has to be a string, and the body, which has to be a patient. And we'll defer creating this in the function, and we'll just make the put request here. So let's just do axios.put. And along with the patient here, let's actually use the string literals here. You just pass in the ID in here along after a slash. And here we can pass in the body, right? So once you have this, let's just return the updated patient. And let's try this out. So let's actually say let's say we want to get this patient, right? Let's call this function main. Again, the problem is it doesn't allow async operations. So I have to do this. So let's get our main patient. And what we can then do is we can actually edit a few fields in our patient. So let's edit patient.name, for example, or let's say patient.telecom .0 dot, what do we want to do here? Let's say the value, and then let's change it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, what is it complaining about? Left-hand side of assignment exception may not be optional property. Okay, so we can't technically do the optional property here, so we'll need to kind of check if this patient has a telecom. So we'll just do if not patient.telecom return, right? And that'll avoid this particular thing. And we can also do 0. Actually, no, because we need to check that. Or not. And again, it's the compiler being like super strict here about us not accessing something that actually doesn't exist. Actually, what we can do is we can set this as the first telecom. And then we can just do patient.telecom equals. In this case, we only care about one telecom. So we'll just make it an array. And then we'll make this an object and then say value is this. And the system will again autocomplete to phone. So we've updated this, and then once we updated that, let's actually update this patient. And in this case, we just need this ID again. So let's pass this ID. And let's pass in the patient body. So now this is the updated patient. We would like change the mobile number. So now let's see if this works. So const updated patient console.log updated patient. Let's see that. See if that works. main. And it's returning a promise. I think we didn't await this, but I'm pretty sure it resolved here. So it did, and it's showing us the updated phone number. So let's delete this patient finally. I think let's just clean this up. So let's have another function called delete patient. Then let's just take an ID. And all we need to do here is just say Axios dot delete. And again, FHIR base URL. Let's make this a string literal because it's a little easier. FHIR base URL, and then slash patient slash this ID. That's about it. And then this is going to delete this. So it's an async operation. Let's just say delete patient, and then we know our patient ID. We'll just copy it again from here. So let's run this. There we go. We got nothing, but then let's refresh this page. And then it says the resource was deleted on this particular date. And that's about it. That's the main FHIR operations that we actually saw. And then we used the TypeScript library with Axios to kind of work with it. So hope that was helpful. If you're interested in more, and if you just want to learn more about FHIR, we have a lot of free courses that we offer on our website. Do check them out down in the description below. And again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.